Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is January the 7th, 2021. And today we're going to be taking a look at the crucifixion of Jesus. And we're going to be questioning every single thing that was taught to us. Yes, we are. Because none of it was true. None of it was true. Now, not in regards to the crucifixion anyway. Well, yeah, pretty much none of it was true. Pretty much. But now we've already gone over the 3 days and 3 nights. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, I've done about 3 on Revelation chapter 12. I explained that the 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth was Jesus being held in captivity. The feast day held that you were to take the lamb and hold it for 4 days. You would take it on the 10th, hold it for 4 days, and then it would be slain on the Passover. So all of the running around that he did, from Pilate to Herod to being scourged, all of that happened over a course of 3 days and 3 nights. So that was the 4 days. And like I said, you can see, I think I mentioned it in all of my videos in Revelation 12. So check one of those out if you're not familiar with that. But and as far as the Last Supper, what we determined was Jesus's Last Supper must have been like when they have the animals, like escargot. If you were to eat escargot, they don't just take that snail and feed it to you. They hold it 3 days without feeding it, and then so that the bowels will be clean on the day that it's eaten or killed. And this, I think, would have prevented a bowel movement when Jesus died as well. His body would have remained clean. So his last meal would have been that last meal that they served him in preparation for slaying the animal on the 14th during the Passover. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. This is the plan. Because we all have an idea of the crucifixion and how it happened that has been taught to us since we were born, mostly. Well, if you were raised in a Christian household, since you were born. Otherwise, you heard it somewhere living in America, if you live in America. So what we're going to do is we're going to read through the recount of those in all 4 Gospels. We're going to take a look at it just so that you can have it in your mind. And then I'm going to talk to you about what we've read. And then after I talk to you, then we're going to go back through and look at it with new eyes. And then we're going to look at the evidence. But I want you to have it fresh in your mind what is actually written, so that there's no confusion about when we talk. Because I'm going to appeal to your reason and common sense about what was told to us about what we've actually read. So let's get to it. That's the plan. Let's get to it. So this is John 19. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus and led him away. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and two other with him, on either side one, and Jesus in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Then said the chief priest of the Jews to Pilate, write not the King of the Jews, but he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. So we're going to jump down to, we'll go ahead and read through this. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout, because we know that clothes are a reflection of the character, so it was seamless. They said therefore among themselves, let us not rend it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. And Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by, whom he loved. He saith unto his mother, woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, behold thy mother. And from that hour the disciple took her unto his own home. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, and put it upon hyssop, and put it to his mouth. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. I'm not going to read through all of these, but I want to read down through this one because there's additional information in verse 36 or 37. The Jews therefore, because it was the preparation that the bodies should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for the Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers, and brake the legs of the first, and of the other, which was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus, and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record. His record is true, and his record is true. And he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. For these things were done, that the scriptures should be fulfilled. A bone of him shall not be broken. And again another scripture saith, they shall look on him whom they pierced. And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him leave. He came thereof and took the body of Jesus. Now, let's go ahead and finish it up. And there came also Nicodemus, which at the first came to Jesus by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight. Then took they the body of Jesus, and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never a man yet laid. There laid they Jesus, therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. So we're just going to read through we read through the full account there of what happened at the crucifixion. We're just going to read part of the others. Not a whole lot. We probably don't need it, but just because I planned to do it this way. I didn't realize how long it was going to take. So we have the scriptures. Let's read. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding. And the rulers also with them derided him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if he be Christ, the chosen God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou be the king of the Jews, save thyself. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew, This is the King of the Jews. And one of the malefactors which was hanged railed on him, saying, If thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today, the comma should be here, shalt thou be with me in paradise. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the earth. Okay, we don't need that part. Let me just make sure. Okay, so let's go on to the next one in Matthew. Then released he Barnabas unto them, and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. I did not look up how many times he was scourged. I wish I would have, because we're going to discuss that. So I hope you're familiar with it. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the common hall, and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. And they stripped him, and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had platted a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. And they spit upon him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. So this is, hold on a moment. So he scourged him first, and then he delivered him to the soldiers to be crucified. Okay, and they mocked him and scourged him. And they took the robe off of him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. Hold on a moment. This is the two thieves. That were railing him. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Let's go back up here. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. No. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now. If he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God. The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Okay. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, Yama. I can't with that right now. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay, that's enough of that. This is where the graves rose here. So I think this is the last one here. On Matthew 35, I wanted to read. Okay, I've got that. So let's go on to Mark. And when they had crucified him, they parted his garments, casting lots upon them, what every man should take. And it was the third hour, and they crucified him. And the superscription of his accusation was written over, the King of the Jews. And with him they crucified two thieves, the one on the right hand and the other on the left. And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple and buildest it in 3 days, save thyself and come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests mocking said among themselves with the scribe, He saved others, himself he cannot save. Let Christ the King of Israel descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe. And they that were crucified with him reviled him. And when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And the 9th hour Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Yeah, we're not going to do that. Being interpreted, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of them that stood by heard it. Let's see if there's anything else in here we need. I think we're okay. Okay, so we're just going to talk for a moment about what we have all been taught and about how it doesn't make sense, basically. We've all been taught that Jesus was nailed to a cross. That they took a couple of nails, took a couple of spikes, and put one spike through one arm and one spike through the other arm and a spike through his feet. And wait, there's a couple more scriptures I didn't read. Hold on. No, I don't need any of those. Okay, so we're done here. And a spike through his feet. And he just hung there. And of course, and then there was the spear mark in his side. And he had served his, he had made his sacrifice, and he cried up to God, and then he died. That's what we're taught. I'm telling you that is not possible. It's not possible. In the Bible, it says that none of his bones were broken. We can see that. We can look at that. No broken bones. Well, maybe it's here. Here we go. And when they came to Jesus and saw that his body was dead already, they brake not his legs, but one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came out their blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true, and he knoweth that he saith is true. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. And again another scripture saith, they shall look on him who they pierced. So, none of his bones are broken, and he's going to be pierced. So, first they told us it was in the hand, and that's not possible. Okay, so then they moved it to the arm. Well, there's a vein right there in the arm. I have illustrations. Hold on. I have illustrations. There's a vein. If you look real close here, let's zoom in a little bit. There's this vein, which is called there's the radial and the ulnar vein, and this is a primary vein, and you can cut this and die. And it splits off. It travels up alongside the bone there, and then it splits off and goes up through the middle of the arm. So it goes through the middle of the arm in the front. You can barely see it, and it also goes through the middle of the arm on the back. And that bone, I have a picture of the bone. Oh, here's one right here. You can see that little gap right there. That can't hold a spike. It can't. It would just rip the bone in two. Not to mention 180, 200 pound, 190-pound man hanging from this little bone. You know how easy it is to break a bone? We're supposed to believe that Jesus was suspended for hours on end by this little bone right here. And the soldiers were surgical enough to get that bone right in there to get that spike right in there between the bone. Not only that, there's this thing that comes out of our body called blood, that when we're hurt, we start bleeding. If you get a splinter in your hand, you can barely stand it. You have to get it out. Yet we're supposed to believe that Jesus hung by a spike in his arm for 3 hours. 3 hours without slipping off. Not only that, you guys, he was supposed to have been in the position of a cross. That's ludicrous. Just think about it. If the soldiers had to first nail him to the cross and then pick him up, it would have taken 4 men to get him up properly without him just flying off the cross. Even if he could be held by a nail, which he could not have been, he couldn't have been. But because of the imbalance of a cross, there would have had to have been somebody at the head, somebody on both sides of the arm, and then somebody at the end guiding that into the hold. And then the pressure of going down, being thrust down into that hole and burying the pole, he would have just went flying. Well, part of him would have went flying out. Part of his arm would have stayed on the tree. If that sudden thrust of pressure would have just ripped off half his arm. It just would have. But that's not what would have happened, really, because you cannot nail something as slippery as an arm and a blood vessel to anything. You can't nail anything like that. If they would have put a nail in him, his arm would have slipped right through it, and he would have came flying off. He certainly wouldn't have been able to stay up there for 3 hours. 3 hours from 6 to 9. No, it's not possible. It's a deception. It's a lie. They've been lying to us all of this time. It's not true. Now, let's consider something else. It said that they told us that he was scourged. And what did they tell you? He was scourged with metal whips. They took metal whips and they gave him stripes and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And they beat him, and it was so awful. And he was bloody and broken and bruised, and it was all horrible. And then what happened? The next day he got up and was forced to carry a tree. How are you just going to get up from something like that? Do we remember the slave videos where they used to whip with a leather whip? Have you ever had a whooping? It leaves a mark. But we're supposed to believe that he got beat. We know it's been 4 days now, not 6 hours. We're thinking, well, they want us to believe all of this happened over about 6 or 8 hours, first of all, which is impossible. Then he went to Pilate, to Herod, back to Pilate. He got scores, all this over a couple of hours. Nonsense. But even if it happened the next day, but let's just say it happened the next day. The next day he got up. Would he have been just getting up and carrying anything the next day after having been scourged with a metal whip? I assure you, he would not have been able to get up at all, much less get up and carry a tree. That's not going to happen. None of this is true. None of what we have been told is true. None of it. He might have been scourged with a whip or a rod or what have you. but he was not scourged with a metal anything that caused his skin to be ripped apart like that, because because he wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have lasted like that. He got up, he was on the tree having a conversation with the people that were beside him. The men beside him were talking to him and yelling at him, telling him to get up. They were hitting him over top of the head. He only fell down once that they told us about. And the moment he fell down, they had somebody else supposedly carry the quote-unquote cross for him. He only fell down once. They were like, oh, he can't do it. Here, you do it for him. Does this sound like a man who's just been hit with however many lashes he was hit with a metal whip? No. It didn't happen like that. It didn't happen like that. Just one other point I want to just point out. They were surprised that he was dead after 3 hours. Can you imagine? After 3 hours, standing up there, coated with blood, metal rods sticking out of your hand, supposedly for 3 hours, and you're supposed to live through it, where we practically want to die if we get a splinter in our hand. He's standing up there having a conversation. There's no infection, there's no swelling, there's no nothing. They're all just standing up there talking to him like he understands it, and he's having a conversation, and the people standing next to him, nailed to a tree, also supposedly are having a conversation as well. And no swelling, no infection, and he's sober enough to ask for some water. I need something to drink. And the criminals next to him, they're completely conscious. I don't know we're going to have to use you know how they tell you TV is good for nothing. Okay, well, we're going to prove them wrong today. We're going to prove them wrong today, because we don't know. The only resource that we have is what has been shown to us on TV. And they leak little things out. They show you little things. And that's how we're going to piece this together and figure out exactly what happened on the day of that crucifixion. But I cut myself off and I forgot my point that I wanted to make. I guess I'm not going to make it because we're at 27 minutes. We're going to leave. Well, hold on a second. There was one other thing I do want to point out. I said one other thing, but I made a mistake. I forgot about the feet. His feet were also supposed to have been nailed to the cross. And I have pictures. Sorry about that. I have pictures of the feet. Hold on. Okay, that's a picture of the feet. Where's the nail gonna go? Where's the nail gonna go? There was one that had a hole at the bottom. I didn't put it here. Here, right here. Supposedly, they want us to believe that the feet was so distorted. Of course, this hole isn't on the bottom of most of the feet that I viewed in the illustrations. If it was very small, and I certainly couldn't find it. But they want us to believe that this supposed to be what the nail went through? Again, a surgical soldier. Does that make a lot of sense? With surgical precision, he's supposed to get a nail through this hole. Of course, you'll have to completely distort the feet. And yet, he doesn't bleed to death after 3 hours. He's still up there, and everybody's like, hey, he's not dead yet. Break his legs. As if that's going to help. He's got a spike through his arm, but they think breaking his legs is going to kill him. Yeah, no. Here again is another picture of the skeleton of the arm. We're supposed to believe that a spike went through here. It's not going to stay here, first of all, because this isn't big enough. Secondly, with the weight of a grown man, it's going to just slip right on up here, rip apart the arm, go up here, and eventually the weight of the man, of the body of the man, is going to pull down on this thin little bone here and break apart. But I don't even think it can fit in there, to be honest with you. I don't think a spike can fit in this arm. Maybe if you put it right through the center part right here. But up here, definitely not. And there is a vein that goes through this area. There is a vein, and it is a main vein. They tell you to cut your wrist on TV. That's what they tell you. If I don't think you can do that really, unless you go down pretty deep. I read about this a little bit before I did this. So it's not like on television entirely. But this is a primary vein. They do have that right. This is a primary vein. And you can bleed to death. Okay. So let's see. Oh, that's all of them. That's all of my illustrations. So we're going to stop there. And then we're going to pick back up. And then, now that we have read the story, what happened, compared it to reality, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the scriptures again and the evidence for, and try to decipher what really happened together. All right. See you in the next video. Bye.